Hello, Farming Our Land and Sea students. It's Miss Esther. So nice to see you. I am going to be reading another book to you today. This one is called Barn Owl, and it is all about barn owls and how they live. It's about their environment, how they survive during different seasons, and it will be really helpful because we are going to be dissecting owl pellets. And so you want to make sure that you understand a little bit about where your pellet is coming from, what the lives of the owls is like, etc. So let's get started. I'm only going to read the first half of the book, and then I'll have the other half available for you. But for our purposes for the owl pellet lesson, we're just going to go to the middle of the book today. All right. All right, let's go. Barn Owl. Animal Lives Barn Owl, illustrated by Bert Kitchen and written by Sally Tagholm. As I read through the story, I really want you to listen to the words that I say. I want you to listen to how I say them, and that'll give you a little bit of an idea of what the scene is like. Please take a look at the illustrations, and that will give you a great idea of what the topography, the land is like around where the owl lives. It'll give you an idea of the season, what's around, how the owl is doing. So really pay attention to everything that you see and hear, okay? All right, here we go. The barn owl sits motionless on the gate, a ghostly shape in the slowly gathering dusk. The winter fields are frozen, the trees bare, and the landscape deserted. Small creatures, such as long-tailed field mice, do not stray far from home. With food so hard to find, the owl will have to leave his favorite patch tonight. The pale sun has almost disappeared from view. It is time to hunt. He swoops slowly over the trees and hedges, across the rolling countryside, leaving the gate far behind. A silent phantom. Phantom is like a ghost. His huge wings quietly beat the night air, their soft, downy surface deadening the sound. Downy is super soft and light. Under the splendid feathers, his body is slim and surprisingly light. The perfect flying machine. With his super efficient sense of hearing and big round eyes that can see in the dark, he will find a plump mouse or juicy rat before long. He might even come across a flock of small birds roosting in some frosty hedge. The barn owl, I'm going to move my picture. The barn owl slows down and almost comes to a halt. He has found what he is looking for. He hovers, suspended in the dark night air, with his eyes fixed on the small brown mouse perched on the fallen tree trunk. He bides his time. He waits. Suddenly he plunges, snatching his prey, folding it into the vice-like grip of his deadly claws. He flies off triumphantly, his prize hanging from his beak. See those sharp claws? The little mouse just kind of hanging out there. If you look at the owl's feathers, big, strong feathers, and underneath, downy feathers that are light and fluffy and helps to mute the noise, makes it really hard to hear him as he's flying. Spring is here. The trees are in bloom, and small creatures scurry and scamper after the long, cold winter. After months of roosting alone, the owl has found a mate. From his perch on the gate, his blood-curdling screech pierces the still night air. The female answers, and they twist and turn in the air, calling to each other and playing tag in the dark like ghostly acrobats. So the owl has found an owl lady love. All right. Now there's plenty of food in the hedges and ditches. The owl does not have to fly far to find a tasty, long-tailed field mouse. He presents it to the female, a juicy offering, which she swallows whole. Then he flies off again in search of more food. The more, the better. The female encourages him, begging for food by making husky hisses that sound a little like snoring. The male likes that. Sometimes the male hovers in front of her in midair, fluttering his powerful wings. After she fully accepts him, it will be time to mate. So if you see, he's got a nice, long, fat field mouse, and he's giving it to her as a gift. And she thinks the more food that he brings, the better of a mate he will be. All right. Okay. The two owls roost together in the crumbling buildings of the deserted farm. One of their favorite places is the old barn. It has a special owl window high up under the gable, built long ago when farmers needed owls to hunt the rats and mice that ate their grain. It is peaceful and dark up in the rafters, the perfect place to nest. The birds preen each other in the shadows. That means they clean each other's feathers and they smooth them down and they pick out any bugs. They make each other beautiful. That's one of the ways that owls love to show each other that they care. After mating, the female lays a clutch of 5 smooth white eggs, one at a time. This happens over 10 days, and she warms them by sitting tight on her nest in the gloom above some forgotten bales of straw and rusty farm machinery. She only goes off duty occasionally to preen and stretch her wings out in the open air. At regular intervals, she stands up and turns the eggs to make sure they are heated evenly, pushing them around with her face and bill. They soon get a little dirty because the nest is really just a layer of dry old owl pellets. The scattered fur, feathers, and tiny bones of undigested prey. The remains of several small rodents brought in by the male to feed his mate weeks ago lie rotting in the nearby straw. So it's springtime, so there's just so much food that the owl can't eat it all. And sometimes those little bodies of animals just lay around and kind of rot away. And if you look carefully, there are her eggs. And then all this brown stuff here, those are pellets that she has regurgitated. That's the correct word, right? Because owls don't throw them up. They don't get sick. They regurgitate all the bits and pieces of an animal that they can't eat. Just like we can't eat fur and feathers and scales and bones and teeth, neither can the owls. And so their gizzard presses it together and then they regurgitate. Regurgitate means they push it up and let it out in a little cough. And it usually takes about a minute for them to get rid of their pellet. We'll stop right here, but I'll go ahead and go through the rest of the pages so you can read them at your convenience. There's that beautiful barn owl with another gift for his mate.